Max Nation and Dog Pound, welcome to the first of two episodes of the Sports Room. Although this is, I guess you could say this is an episode of the Sports Room, but it's also a spin-off of a show Bryan and I do here at the Ohio Media School, which is where I'm recording this from, specifically the All Sports Cleveland studio. Bryan's just in another studio somewhere on campus. I'll play hide and seek with him later.
You'll never find me. I'm well hidden. No, yeah, I'm just set up at one of the other studios here, but yeah, no, this is going to be fun to do it live on StreamYard. I've never done a StreamYard before, so yeah, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, so what am I doing? I'm being a horrible host right now. Welcome to the show, Bryan.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, so like Josh mentioned before, we're a spin-off show of So What's the Catch, which we will still be doing this afternoon from 2 to 4 like normal. But this is kind of an in-school side project Josh and I are working on. So we'll be meeting you guys live on Wednesdays for our little mini show before we join the rest of the guys on So What's the Catch. So make sure you guys subscribe and like Josh's YouTube channel.
I see what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I'm not used to it flipping your image. So like I'm actually pointing my right and it's confusing. You
almost look like the Scarecrow from Wizard of Oz.
Oh yeah.
That way.
No, but so anyway, my point being, make sure you like and subscribe, Josh, because all his stuff is great, and he'll be able to direct you to all of the future stuff that him and I will be working on. So
yes,
that's a good place to start.
We also have a So What's the Catch YouTube channel. I will put the link to that channel in the description of today's video, so go subscribe to that. You can see all of our previous episodes of So What's the Catch. I will also be posting episodes of that here on Unger to the Max, so don't worry if you don't want to subscribe to So What's the Catch, which we hope you do, but if not, you can still catch episodes of it here on my channel. And Bryan, you're developing a bit of a YouTube channel yourself.
Yeah, I haven't posted any content on it yet. But yeah, the framework is there. I did start my own channel. So if you find me, it's Bryan Fraley Jr. on YouTube. I haven't given it a name or anything like that yet. But yeah, my goal is to get to 100 subscribers so that I could start going live on YouTube because I'd like to do my show live. So yeah, if you guys want to go subscribe, once I get to 100, I'm also going to be eating a Carolina Reaper pepper. So it's the 100 subscriber Carolina Reaper pepper challenge. Once you guys get me to that 100 subscriber mark, I'm going live here at Ohio Media School and eating the hottest pepper known to mankind. So that should be fun.
And I will put a link to Bryan's YouTube channel in the description of this video as well. So
thanks for doing that, Josh.
Yep.
And then you can find me here. That's my Twitter and Instagram handle at Bryan_Fraley. I'm also on Facebook. That would be facebook.com/Bryan Fraley Jr. JR, just JR, no period.
Okay.
Cool. Well, yeah, now that we've got that stuff out of the way and hopefully you guys take a moment and follow us. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about the Cavs because they're hot right now.
Yes, they are.
Not? Yeah. So it looks like.
I don't know if you can see it, but I got.
He's got the Cavaliers logo on his armpit, so you know he's all in.
But my bar mitzvah theme was Cleveland Cavaliers theme. So
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Josh, the Cavaliers are your favorite franchise in all of sports.
That is correct. That is 100% correct.
So you of all people have to be jacked up about this 4-game winning streak we're on.
Yes, I am. And we're looking to push it to 5 games tonight if we can survive the spell of the Washington Wizards, which
that's not good there.
Yeah.
Clever.
I thought about saying the magic of the Washington Wizards, but that would be combining the Orlando Magic with the Washington Wizards, and
right. You don't want to conflate the two.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that we've got I like our chances against Washington tonight. I think that the boys are going to be excited to be home. But I'm really curious to know what you think is the key to this 4-game winning streak that they're on. Is there any one thing that has caught your attention that, you really think is driving this team? Because right now, let's be honest, they're exceeding all of our expectations.
Yeah. I mean, my expectations going into the season were 30 wins. I thought I know your expectations were a little bit lower at like 20. What did you say? Like 27, 28, somewhere in that range?
I had 27.
Okay. So the reason I said 30 wins is because I liked what I saw at the end of the season last year with Garland and Sexton, and I liked the chemistry that they were having with Jared Allen in the front court. And yeah, Okoro didn't develop maybe as quickly as we wanted him to, but he's a rookie. The only problem is he was a top 5 pick. So when you're a top 5 pick, you're expected to contribute right away.
And I think to an extent he has, at least on the defensive side of the ball. I think his defensive game translated over a little quicker than his offensive game has.
Right.
I'm still kind of happy with what he's done on the court in terms of the defensive side of the ball. But yeah, I agree. When you're a top 5 pick, expectations are high. You have to produce. And, he's not scoring like we kind of hoped that he would. So, yeah, I agree with you there.
So right now, Lauri Markkanen is injured. He's in like the COVID protocols or whatever, something like that.
Right.
And Kevin Love is, I believe, also in COVID or health and safety protocols. And then we have Colin Sexton out for several weeks with a torn meniscus. So do you think that the injuries are going to eventually catch up to us?
I think so. The last thing that a team that's hot right now and a young team needs is injuries, especially when you're trying to sustain some early success that was really encouraging. But yeah, I think that the impact of having those 2 guys out is going to be felt immediately. And part of the reason I say that is because, we haven't been playing too many guys. If you look at a lot of the box scores, 8, 9, sometimes 10 people are making appearances in the game. We're not using all of our bench. So when you take 2 guys like that out, that means that 2 guys that haven't been seeing the court are going to have to step up and play. And we haven't seen it from those guys yet. So, we don't really know what to expect from the guys that are going to come in and fill in for those 2. So, yeah, I think it's bad. But, this team has surprised me so much already that I'm not going to put it past them to get through it. But at this point, I think that this will be felt sooner rather than later. I think that we'll see the impact quickly.
So I'm just pulling up the standings on my NBA app on my phone super quick. Going into this game, Washington is 3rd in the Eastern Conference at 7-3, and we're 5th in the Eastern Conference at 7-4.
It's crazy to say that.
This Eastern Conference is bizarre right now. I mean, the top team in the East right now is Miami at 7-3, while the defending NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks are back in 9th place at 5-6.
Right. Yeah, things are kind of topsy-turvy in the NBA right now.
Do you think that it's going to stay that way the remainder of the year, or do you think like eventually like the powerhouses like Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, I would even put Atlanta in that category.
Sure, they've been in the mix for a while now.
Right. So do you think like those teams are eventually going to stabilize, if you will, and I think
with basketball, right, with basketball especially, it seems like the cream always rises to the top. You always have some really good teams that get off to a poor start, but by the end of the year, they seem to get back on track and find a winning streak and string some good road trips together. And by the end of the year, I do think that teams like, the Milwaukee Bucks, they're not going to finish under 500. They're under 500 right now, which is shocking. But, I think that that's definitely going to work itself out. A lot of guys out with COVID protocols and injuries and things like that. So it's a long season. I do expect there to be more parity this year than normal. but not like what we're seeing now. I would be very surprised if the playoff picture looked anything like it would if it were today.
So you think the Eastern Conference will eventually like stabilize?
I think so. I think some of the teams that are struggling right now are gonna work their way to the top. But I do think we'll see a little, like I said, a little bit more parity this year than in years past. I think that there's going to be one or two teams that really surprise people. I didn't
Do you think
necessarily
the Cavs
that.
are one of those teams?
Man, yeah, at this point, it looks like they could be. I don't want to put them in that category yet, just because my expectations were so low at the start of the season. But I mean, if you look at their record, they've already got 7 wins. And they're, I mean, one fourth of the way to my win total already. So, yeah, it'd be foolish of me to say that they couldn't be in that mix. I'm not putting them in there yet, but they could be. They could be one of those teams that sneaks in there with a lower seed and, maybe make some noise.
Yeah. Before this season, I pick them to necessarily be one of the top 8 teams and qualify for a playoff spot, or I guess it's top 6 because now you have that whole play-in tournament now. Right. No, I didn't think they would get to even that. I thought, okay, 30 wins is a good benchmark. That means, yeah, you lose 52, but still, getting to 30 wins without LeBron, that's progress. That's exactly what I was going for.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at it, I'll let you go in one sec, but if you look at it, when LeBron left the first time around to go to Miami, we completely fell into the basement, and we could not get out of it, no matter what we did.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this time, maybe it took us a little bit, but we're finding our footing.
Yeah, I
go ahead.
No, I agree totally with where you're going with this. The team never developed an identity after losing LeBron, but this team seems to be gelling and developing a little bit of an identity, and they seem to be a unit that's playing way better together than people had expected for this early on in the season, or even at all in the season. So they're already exceeding expectations, and I think that 30 wins would be a move in the right direction, considering how bad things, were the last time LeBron left. So I'm with you. 30 wins would be progress. But I don't know that 30 wins is going to be enough to get them in, So I do think they'll have to win a few more games in order to get into the playoff mix. But yeah, right. I mean, I'd be foolish to say that they can't do it now. They're already at 7. So,
I mean, they've beaten some, again,
teams.
It's early in the season, but yeah, you're right. They've beaten some good teams. They beat Atlanta, which for me, that was the most impressive win on the season so far. I know you have a little bit of a different opinion, but they've beaten Atlanta, they've beaten Denver, they've beaten the Clippers. They put up fights against the Lakers and the Suns. They didn't just roll over and go, "Oh, we're just gonna here's a win for you guys. Happy birthday."
Right. Yeah, and I mean, even on this 4-game win streak, the teams that they've played have all been good teams. They're at Charlotte. They played Portland at home. Then they were at Toronto and at New York. All of those teams were good teams last year, and,
right.
And for us to win all 4 of those games, even in convincing fashion in some of them, that was a shock to me. It was definitely a shock to me. So seeing them overcome that kind of competition is just super encouraging, because like you said, they're not beating bottom feeders. They're beating playoff teams, and it really is puzzling to me, that they have come together and look so good this early. And I think a lot of that has to do with, Jarrett Allen at the start that he's been off to. And then, the rookie who has just been incredible. I mean, Mobley, there were a lot of question marks surrounding his game. And I thought he was going to be a project player. I didn't think that this year he was going to really do much. I thought he was going to need some time to grow, but he's already established himself as a key part of this offense and a key part of the defense. And he's doing it all. He's doing everything that they drafted him in hopes that he would do. And he's doing it way faster, way ahead of schedule. So, yeah, I mean, I'm super encouraged by everything I'm seeing with this young team.
Yeah. Here's what bothered me, though, about back to that NBA draft, because you talked about it a little bit with drafting Mobley. I would have liked it if they had tried to trade back into the draft in like the late first round or at some point in the second round to try and draft someone else.
Right.
Because Essence is like, good point. He's doing it well.
Thank you. Yeah. I totally agree. And so we got the Wizards tonight, and then the Pistons, and then we've got 2 against the Celtics. So we've got a 4-game homestand.
And then it's at Brooklyn, and then home against Golden State. Yay!
That's when and that's, you asked the question earlier, Josh, when do I think that these injuries are going to catch up to us? Mm-hmm. That's going to be it. That's going to be our first
back.
Yep, that back-to-back is going to tell us a lot about, what the team's going to be able to do with those guys out. These next couple games, they're not the best opponents, so hopefully they can, get through this homestand, at least 500, 3-1 would be terrific, but 500, I think everybody would be okay with. But yeah, the schedule gets tough in December.
Yeah. Although Washington and Boston are not pushovers.
No, that's a good point too,
Yeah.
But, with the Pistons, they're a team that's been on the rebuild, and the Celtics did have some struggles early out of the gate this year. So
right. Didn't they have a players-only meeting at one point?
Yeah, it was pretty early for a players-only meeting. That's something you hear about after the All-Star break. But,
yeah,
who knows? Maybe that's what they needed. Maybe it gets the ship righted, there in Boston. But, yeah, I'm excited to see what this team can do. I hadn't zero hopes for the Cavs in this NBA season, and now they've got me watching every night. They've got me really interested to see what they're going to do, and I haven't felt that way for a LeBron-less Cavs team in decades.
Yeah,
literally. So it's fun. It's a good feeling. It makes me excited to be a Cavs fan for the first time in a while. So yeah, it's looking good. I'm glad that they're proving me wrong. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. I just hope that when Lauri Markkanen does come back after being in health and safety protocols, we don't put him back in the starting lineup and go back to that 3 7-footer lineup and do the whole Tower City thing.
Right. It's a cool nickname. I'm with you, but it's not a practical NBA lineup. Not for today's game.
No. The rest of the NBA, as we've talked about multiple times, the rest of the league is going small ball, positionless basketball.
And with 7 footers too, you can't play 7+ footers as many minutes as you could play these 6'4" guards. You know what I mean? These guys need rest. They can't play a 45, 46 minute game like a guy like LeBron could do. So when you talk about your starters, those are the guys that you want playing the most minutes, but it's not sustainable. How long can you continue to play 3 7-foot+ guys, running up and down the court? It's not sustainable. And I'm just not a huge fan of that being the starting lineup. We want Taco in the chat.
Yeah. So Irie just responded. I'm like, Essence, are you Chirk in disguise?
I was gonna say, I think Chirk has a burner account. He's
for those of you who don't know, Chirk is our
producer extraordinaire.
Yes. On So What's the Catch? And for some reason, he is obsessed with Taco Fall.
Yeah, he's enamored with Taco. He treats him like he's like a Smithsonian attraction. Like he's just so intrigued by everything about him. I don't get it. He's tall and he's got a fun name, but from what I've seen on the court, like he doesn't look like an NBA basketball player to me. Yeah. In fact, Brian's in the chat. I say we recruit him to play for the Aviators once his NBA career fizzles out. Because
why not?
I think there's a spot for him in the ABA. I think we'd love to have him on our team. So
yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. Could you imagine? That would be so much fun.
That would be hilarious. But talking about tacos, we're gonna switch gears a little bit.
Sure.
Whenever Sione Taki is on the field, I don't know why, but when I see him on the field, I always go, I want a taki taco.
Yeah, and you usually text it to me as well. So I know I
I
I
don't,
just
I
love
don't know.
how every time Taco Fall's name is brought up, you bring in the Taki thing, and it's just so funny.
I don't know why, but for some reason, a taki taco just sounds fun.
It does sound fun. What do you think would be on that taco? So like a seafood
Oh,
taco, like a sushi taco?
oh, a sushi taco. I like where you're going with that.
Yeah, I think there's something there. I
The
like the
only,
sushi burritos. Sushi
yeah,
burritos, those are
the,
awesome.
but the only way I get a taki taco is if he makes some sort of play, like if he somehow gets a sack, or if he
Oh, okay.
like if he does nothing, no taki taco. That
So
he has to make it is contingent on him making some sort of play, whether it's an
so like
air.
the World Series, Taco Bell was giving away the taco for a stolen base. So Taki makes a tackle for a loss, and we get free tacos. I
Okay,
like
I
it.
don't know if it's that simple. Maybe like 3 tackles for loss, up the ante a
Yeah,
little.
but I want tacos, so I'm trying to set the bar real low for them.
Okay.
I'm trying to give the people what they want, and what they
All
want is
right.
tacos.
All right. We could talk about that. But overall, what are your thoughts on the Browns being 5-4? Do you think they're underperforming? Do you think they are right where you expected them to be? Are they exceeding your expectations? What are your thoughts?
I wouldn't say they're definitely not exceeding my expectations. You know, I expected them to compete in the AFC for the championship in the AFC. I don't think they're ready to win a Super Bowl yet, but I thought that this team had a really good chance at making the AFC championship game and maybe even winning it. And, you know, where we're at right now, because, you know, we're not like if the playoffs started today, we wouldn't be in them, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure that we would be the odd man out there.
I can
Um,
check. I'll
yeah,
look that up on NFL.com right now.
I'm pretty sure I saw a graphic on somebody on Twitter posted the graphic, and it was like the current playoff picture, and the Browns weren't in it. Is my point. So yeah, below expectations, I would have to say, but at the same rate, the Browns have a lot going on right now. You know, they had a lot of injuries to really key players, and then the drama surrounding Odell Beckham Jr. and his release, and everything surrounding that, and Baker with his injuries that he's been fighting through. I can't say I'm disappointed with our current record. You know, to be over 500 with all of those things that I had just mentioned, you know, that's good. You know, we're still in the hunt. You know, we're not out yet. We control our own destiny. And for a Browns fan, if you're this deep into the season and you could say the Browns control their own destiny, I think you should be happy. You know, considering you know where the bar has been set before.
I tried to pull it up on NFL.com, and for some reason it wasn't working. So,
Mhm.
so I'll have to
We'll
look it up.
confirm that later. We'll bring it back up on So What's the Catch later.
Yeah.
We got plenty of Browns talk later. So by then we'll have that confirmed. But I'm 99% sure that if the playoffs started today, we wouldn't be included in them. Yeah, but what about you? What do you think about the record?
They're about where I was expecting them to be, because here's the thing. People were putting them, given what we did last year, you know, going 11-5 and beating the Steelers in the playoffs, and then only losing to the Chiefs by 5 in the AFC divisional round. People were saying much like what you were saying earlier, like, oh, this team's going to go to the AFC championship. And then there were people even crazier than you saying, like, oh, this team's going to go to the Super Bowl. Yay, 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 yay. And I'm like, slow down. Like, let's make sure we can sustain this first. Let's make sure that last season wasn't a fluke.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when was the last time we won the division? It was probably before I was even born.
Maybe 02 when we made was it 02 or 03 when we made the playoffs? I think that We
That's
were
the
a
last.
wild card team, though. I think
You're right.
I
We
wa-
were at Pittsburgh,
right.
so
So
I don't.
they were the division winner, and we were the wild card team. So yeah, I don't think we've won the division since they've been back in '99.
Yeah,
I'd
I
have to
don't think.
confirm that, but I don't think they have.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think so. But
so, but
that's
yeah, the
why
point
I'm
being, your expectations were a little lower than most people, is where you're going
right
with it. But
because
considering the injuries and everything else that has happened, do you think that they're better than you would have expected had that all been factored in? Because at the start of the year, we didn't know those things, and you still had a low bar for them. So that
right.
had to have even, I'd say, dampered your expectations even more.
Yeah, I would say so. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I picked being that we're in, the 17 game schedule now. I picked them to go. I think it was 12-5, something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
still reasonable and like a playoff team, but I didn't think we were going to win the division because, as we've said on So What's the Catch? Baltimore is still Baltimore until they're not,
Mm-hmm.
and Pittsburgh is still Pittsburgh until they're not.
Yeah.
So to knock off, to win, to take the throne, you have to knock out the king.
Yeah, and they've been there for a while now, and
Mm-hmm.
I agree with what you say, because when you have a Roethlisberger-led Steelers team and you look at the success that they've had, especially against the Browns throughout his career, yeah, until we do what we did last year and beat them big, they weren't even really, you've mentioned this before. They don't even look at us like really as a legit rival, like we're just the Browns is the Browns, as doo-doo shit poopster likes to say. Browns is the Browns. But anyhow, my
That's
point
good.
being, yeah, I get what you're saying. You got to beat the best to be the best, and they haven't proven that we can knock those guys off and win the division. So yeah, I agree. They've overcome a lot of things early in the year, but they've got a long way to go.
And here's the other thing. Whenever the Browns get hit with expectations, they always seem to do this. Boo! Like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, remember 2019? We hired Freddie Kitchens as our head coach. We trade for Odell Beckham Jr. We make all these like acquisitions, right? We're on 4 or 5 primetime games where, people were putting the same expectations on us then. Like, they're going to win the division. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. This and that, all that type of stuff. And we ended up going 2-2 in primetime games, 0-4 against the NFC West, 3-1 against the AFC East. I think it was 3-3 against the division, and 0-2 against Tennessee and Denver, who finished in third place like we did in the AFC South and AFC West. If you all add all that together, it's a 6-10 record.
Yeah, not good. Yeah, I see your point for sure. I get why your expectations were a little bit lower. So with the way that they currently are playing, with everybody getting back and getting healthy,
Well, I don't know about that one.
yeah, hoping that everything, hoping that guys get back and get healthy and aren't out with COVID protocols and such. Do you still think that they're a 12-5 team, or do you think that the bar should be a little lower now?
I still think they can get to 12-5, but they have some tough games remaining on their schedule. Like, I don't, even before New England looked like what they are now, I knew that was going to be a tough game. It's always difficult to go into Foxboro and beat the Patriots, because
As long as Bill Belichick's there, yeah.
right.
Like you
And
said about the people at the top, until they're not, they're the Kings.
mm-hmm.
And with the Patriots, until they show us that they're not the same team that they were with Tom Brady, and that's not what we've seen. They've shown that they still can win. Belichick is the guy, and that he can win without Brady, and Brady's proven that he can win without them too, but it's kind of worked out on both sides, and I think that shocked a lot of people. But I think two things can be true. Brady could be the best quarterback of all time and Belichick could be the best head coach of all time.
Quick side note. I know you didn't love this when I said this, but it wasn't 28-3 that made me confess that Brady was the GOAT. It was him leaving New England, going to Tampa Bay, not only leading them to the Super Bowl, but being the first to win the Super Bowl in your home stadium. That's what made me confess that Tom Brady is the GOAT.
No, I'm just glad that you joined the party finally because you're a little bit late. But yeah, no, if that wasn't going to put you over the top, what would? I agree. Like, if I see what you're saying, you weren't there yet, but that was enough to put you over the top and say that, okay, yeah, he's the greatest. For me, it was. I think it was 28-3 for me because I still had it in my head. Like, I grew up watching Peyton, with Tom, and Peyton did some really, really special things and had some really, really good years. And I wasn't ready to put Tom in front of Peyton Manning for a long time. But that Super Bowl was the moment for me that I said, okay, like, this guy is capable of putting a team on his back in the biggest moments. And it's like, he's going to do it. It's not like, oh, he's good enough to do it. It's, oh, Tom has the ball and there's time left. He's going to win, and I've never felt that confident about any player that would, like, late in a game put in that position to win it. And he's just proven time and time again that if you give him the ball and there's, more than 30 seconds left, like, you're going to lose. He's going to beat you.
Yeah. The only thing the main reason I didn't want to admit it after that Atlanta Super Bowl and Super Bowl 51 was because I felt like that was more of an Atlanta choke job rather than.
That's fair.
Yeah. That felt more like Atlanta lost that game more than New England won that game. That's just from my perspective.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there for sure. I just saw it a little differently, but yeah,
hey, that makes for good content.
But like I said before, two things can be true at the same time. Atlanta could blow that game and play terrible, and Tom could win that game and play great. And they kind of both worked, and then it ended up leveling itself out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And the other thing with that is, Tom Brady, while in New England, you had Spygate, you had Deflategate. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there are other cheating scandals that the Patriots were involved in that I'm not necessarily remembering right off the top of my head.
There's been plenty.
Right. But I think that was also part of it, that he was always seemed to be maybe not the centerpiece of the Patriots cheating scandal, but it always, at least for me, it always felt like he was in the conversation.
So you think that, like, he was responsible for a lot of the things that happened, is what you're saying? Like,
perhaps. I'm not accusing him of anything by any stretch of the imagination.
Right, but you're just saying that he had a part in all that, and you weren't ready.
Perhaps.
And you weren't ready to crown him until you saw him do it without the speculation of cheating being involved.
Exactly.
That makes perfect sense to me. I think a lot of people would agree with you there. And you got to remember too, like, I've been a Tom Brady guy from day one because he was a Michigan guy. So, when he was drafted number 199 and those quarterbacks were drafted in front of him, I remember telling people, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I predicted he was going to be Tom Brady, but I said, this guy's going to be a Pro Bowler. That's all I said was, like, this guy's going to be a Pro Bowler. Like, he's a good leader. He doesn't have the body. He doesn't have the athletic ability, but there is something about him. So I was all in on him before most people were. So it's hard for me to detach my fandom from him too sometimes. So
understandable.
I think I was all in on him earlier than most people were.
Yeah.
So, like, just like you were late to the party, I was super early to the party. So yeah, I think that's why I might have been a little quicker to crown him than you were.
Right. And I think it was also, like, some of those Super Bowls that he did win early on in his career, yeah, he led them on drives to put them in position to win, but it was Adam Vinatieri who like kicked the game-winning field goal to win the Super Bowl for the New England in that case.
Up until that Falcons game, that was the first instance where Tom was the one who took over and did it. Whereas in other games, there were other superstars who really stepped up in those games,
exactly,
like Vinatieri and some of the wide receivers that he had, and so yeah, I get what you're saying there. That makes total sense.
But getting back to the Browns, I know we got sidetracked a little bit, but although it ties in perfectly because we are playing the Patriots.
Yeah, that's where the discussion started. So yeah, no, it's all relevant, and because especially with what you were saying earlier, like these guys, until they show us that they're not the Patriots, we need to take them very seriously, and that's why this game I think is so important. Is because you have to prepare more for a Bill Belichick-led team than you do for a Robert Saleh-led team or a Sirianni-led team, or you know what I mean, like some of these other guys. So yeah, it's all relevant to the conversation for this week going into that game.
Yeah, and we're both 5-4. I'm surprised the NFL is keeping this game at 1 o'clock. I get it. They can't flex the game into Sunday Night Football because you need they would have needed to announce that last week or whatever.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of days that they have to give notice to flex a game. I'm not super hip to all that. It's not that interesting to me, so I don't really read that much into it. But I get what you're saying. It would be nice if they could easily do that because it's a game that deserves a better time slot.
Right.
I see what you're saying.
That's why I sometimes text you and James about it because it's something that I love that type of stuff where it's why are they not? It's why are they not flexing this game out and flexing game X in type of thing? For some reason, that's just always been fascinating to me, and I love looking at the schedules and being like, does this game make sense to be in this time slot? Type of thing.
and today's world too, the way that we consume media and we consume these games is different. There's streaming services and YouTube and all these different platforms that you can go to. So it's a very antiquated thing to say oh well, you have to have 2 weeks notice to flex a game out of a TV spot to another TV spot. You just can't do that because that's not how things are done in the TV world, So I get where you being a younger guy, you have a hard time understanding why. And that's what I think is it makes sense to me why it doesn't make sense to you, why they can't just move it, because with every other industry, it's oh, we'll just change the time. We'll move to a better time, but with TV, things are kind of old fashioned,
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I don't think they were going to flex out Chiefs Raiders because, that's one of the best rivalries in the NFL, I would say. I'm not going to say it's the best rivalry, but one of the best rivalries.
Sure.
And, both teams the Chiefs are 5-4. I think the Raiders are also 5-4, if I remember correctly. And
I think you're right.
So that game could have, let me double check. No, I'm sorry. The Raiders are 5-3. The Chiefs are 5-4.
Oh, that's right. Wow. Yeah, Raiders have a better record than the Chiefs right now.
But the Raiders are having a few issues right now. You had the whole John Gruden thing. You had everything with Henry Ruggs, which I don't really want to get into. And I think they're having more problems. So,
yeah, there's a lot going on outside of football there. I get what you're saying. It's surprising to me that they're 5-3 with everything going on there.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see what their record is at the end of the year.
Right. So if nothing else, I just think the NFL should have flexed Browns Patriots, maybe not into the Sunday Night Football slot, but at least into the 4 o'clock window because it's 2 5-4 teams. It could be possible playoff implications. We'll talk about this more on So What's the Catch, but I think this could be a possible playoff eliminator. Like, whoever wins this game is in the driver's seat to possibly get a wild card spot. And the loser of this game,
they're going to have to claw their way back up.
Exactly, because let's say the Browns win, they'll have the tiebreaker over the Patriots if their record is somehow tied at the end of the year, and vice versa if the Patriots win.
Yeah, with us having the exact same record, it makes this game, the implications a lot more heavier than we had thought at the beginning of the year when we saw this on the calendar.
Yeah. And we don't have a lot of easy games left on the schedule. I mean, other than next week against Detroit. But after that, you have Baltimore on Sunday Night Football, then a bye week, Baltimore, and then week 15 is the Raiders, who we talked about a little bit earlier. Then you're at Green Bay on Christmas, at Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football, and then home against Cincinnati. That's not an easy way to end this season.
Yeah, I'm encouraged by what I saw last Sunday, at least, against the Bengals. But yeah, that's a tough road ahead. So a game like this I could see why some people would say it's a must-win game. I don't necessarily think that – I don't know if it's an eliminator per se. But yeah, there's definitely a lot more implications to this game than, at the beginning of the year when we circled it on the calendar for sure.
So let me ask you this. You just said you don't think it's a playoff eliminator like I do. Why is that?
I just think that for the Browns, there's enough talent and there's enough there with their running game and with their defense that they can get hot at the right time and put together a winning streak like we've seen the Cavs do, against some good teams. Just because they're playing tough teams in the future doesn't mean that they're automatic losses. That's just my only point.
Right. I agree that you can't.
But I would feel way more encouraged after winning this week than I would losing. We'll put it that way. If we lose this game, then yeah, we're going to have to really start talking okay, are we out of contention already? So, yeah, I guess I do agree with you to an extent, but I think that you could still overcome. There's enough time left in the season to overcome it, is my point.
Okay, that's fair. But we might not have Nick Chubb on Sunday. We'll have to see if he's able to get 2 negative tests and be able to play. So that could be a huge factor in this game.
Yeah, the good news is that he's vaccinated. So as long as he can get the 2 negative results, then he will be able to play. But yeah, that's something that we can't know until the tests are taken. So as of now, I'm going into this game assuming he's not playing, and I'm certain that's probably what the coaching staff is doing too. They're prepping this team to play without him because you have to. You just better safe than sorry. So yeah, I think as of now, it's going to really change the game plan going into this New England game, not having Chubb and not having, because Hunt's out too still. So it's putting a lot on the shoulders of Dearness Johnson. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. I would love to be like a fly on the wall in Foxboro or wherever the Patriots practice and seeing how they're going about it. Are they preparing for Chubb to play? Are they preparing as if Chubb isn't going to play? I would love to know how the Patriots are going about it.
Yeah, I think that they probably have a package of plays for Chubb, and they have a package of plays for a Chubbless offense. And I think they're probably spending equal amount of time on both just to be, best prepared for the game. But
yeah,
Belichick's a guy that's he'll have them ready. That's never going to be a doubt that a Belichick-led team is going to be ready going into the game. So we got to make sure that we're ready as well. Yeah.
So who do you think is the X factor for each team going into this game?
I guess it has to be the quarterbacks to me.
Mac Jones and Baker Mayfield.
I think that those are the 2 guys that, with Chubb being out for the Browns, OBJ being gone, Baker's got to be the guy. He's the quarterback. He's the leader. He needs to be the one that steps up this game. So I'm putting that on Baker. And then with Mac Jones, if you look at his numbers, he has more passing yards than Baker. He has more completions than Baker. Pretty sure he has more touchdowns than Baker. He does have more interceptions, but my point being is that they're very close. Their numbers are very close, and Baker's desperate to prove that he's the right guy for this organization, and Mac Jones is desperate to prove that, that the New England Patriots can move forward without Tom Brady. So those two narratives, I think, make those guys the key to this game from both angles, in my opinion.
And the one thing that I think the Browns can use to their advantage is they've had a hard time against mobile quarterbacks like Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Kyler. But Mac Jones is not a mobile quarterback. He's a very stationary pocket passer. You're not going to see the Patriots call like some sort of quarterback run. At least I'm not expecting the Patriots to call like some sort of quarterback draw for Mac Jones. So,
right.
Given our defensive line, we should be able to put a decent amount of pressure on Mac Jones.
Yeah, I would think so. And I agree. Playing a pro-style quarterback is to our advantage for sure. We match up against pro-style quarterbacks way better. The defense has struggled all year long with guys that can, move around and get out of the pocket. And I think that's going to be a key to the game too. So you could put, you could say a guy like Myles Garrett or, one of the other guys on defense. There's an argument to be made that they'll be the X factor, considering that Mac Jones isn't going to be running around, as much as some of the guys that we've played in the past.
Right. Hopefully Taki makes a play so we can get Taki tacos.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll keep our fingers crossed for that one.
Yeah, but although we still don't know what a Taki taco is. Every time I see him, I'm like, I want a Taki taco.
It's never going to stop either, as long as he's on the team. Yeah. So, do you want to make a quick prediction for the game?
I was just about to say maybe I should open a taco stand and
park a food truck outside at the Muni lot.
Yeah, and go here. I'm gonna try and make some taki tacos.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll whip up some sort of marinade for whatever protein.
I'm sure the good folks at the Muni lot, after a few pops, would be more than happy to try some of that food. So
right, a few pops.
Right, yeah, as we like to call them. Because there's no drinking in the Muni lot. We know that. It's against the rules.
Absolutely not. What are you talking about?
Nobody at a Browns tailgate would ever violate any rule. That's
no.
Yeah. But anyway, I was going to ask, do you think the Browns win this game this weekend, or what's your prediction?
It's so hard to predict this game because it's in New England. Both teams are 5-4. I'm not sure if the Browns are actually finding themselves or if it was, Odell just being cut or released, whatever, last week.
And Chubb also had 2 touchdowns. He was a very important part of the offensive game plan last week. Successful. So they've got to show that we could be successful, without him. And it's, like Dearness Johnson just has all the pressure in the world on him in this game.
Right.
That's one of the things that concerns me is we're putting a lot of pressure on some young players to step up right now.
Right.
And against the Belichick team, that's, Belichick eats rookies alive and young players. He just loves playing guys like that. So I'm sure that he'll throw some things defensively at our backs that's going to give them a different look and maybe have them, questioning things. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out without Chubb if he's not in the mix. If he's in the mix, I think we'll win the game. I think it'll be a close game, but I think we win. If not, I wouldn't put any money on the Browns winning. We'll put it that way.
Last I checked, New England was favored by 2, if I remember correctly. I can look at the.
Yeah, the line has since moved. It's at 1.5 now.
Oh, really?
So, Yeah, it's actually moving closer to the Browns. Um, and that could just mean that all the money's coming in on one side. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's inside information that's making the line move. If it moves more than that, then yeah, maybe then you would be thinking, okay, maybe somebody knows something about Chubb that we don't, you know. But yeah, as of right now, it's at -1.5 for New England.
And the over under is 45.5. I'm personally going to take the under on that one.
Yeah, I don't see this being a high scoring game either way, Chubb being in it or not. So
I think it's going to be a very nip and tuck type of game.
yeah, and both teams like to control time of possession too. You know, they're offensive, but they're offenses that like to control the tempo of the game and to dominate the time of possession, and that keeps the score lower. You know, because the game goes faster when you're running the ball. The clock continues to run between the next play. But just by nature, you're having less scoring opportunities that way. So
Yeah.
I think based off of their two like philosophies, that yeah, I like the under in this one too.
You were just talking about how New England likes to control the clock, much like we do. I feel like the two teams go about it a little bit differently, though. It feels like we like to run the ball more, whereas, yeah, New England runs the ball, and they seem to be establishing a bit of a running game, but maybe I'm seeing it wrong, but it feels like they move the ball more with a quick passing game.
No, I would agree with that 100%. Yeah, it's definitely two different styles, but when you're making those quick short throws like that, there's not many incompletions. So the same thing holds true. You know, if the play is completed, then the clock continues to run, you know. So it's another one of those things that like, yeah, they go about it differently, but in terms of clock management, it kind of does work out the same.
Yeah.
But if you can do things like, you know, get to the quarterback or, you know, make a big play on defense, that can change things. So expect somebody like if we could see a guy like Denzel Ward step up and make a play again, that would be huge.
Yeah. I don't know if he'll have the opportunity to do that, though, because, again, New England, I don't know if it's that they don't fully trust Mac Jones or what it is, but they haven't really opened up the playbook fully, and I don't really see them utilizing the deep pass to where Denzel Ward or Greg Newsome or Greedy Williams, if he's playing, because I think he's been injured the past couple of games, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if they're going to get the opportunity to make a play because New England doesn't really utilize the deep passing game.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do think something like a tip ball at the line or Myles Garrett gets to the quarterback just as he's throwing. Something like that could, you know, maybe present an opportunity for them. But yeah, you're right. They don't throw the ball downfield as much. So, you know, with a guy like Joe Burrow, he's going to move the ball downfield and he's going to throw the ball downfield a lot. So it does give guys like Denzel a chance to step up and make a play like that. So that's actually a really good point, Josh.
Do you think it's because they don't fully trust Mac Jones? Or why do you think they haven't opened up the playbook like they did for Brady?
I don't think it's a lack of trust. I think it's still that he's a young player, you know, and it's not that things are dumbed down for them, but with young quarterbacks, you want to make things as simple as possible. And I think with a guy like Belichick, like the longer that him and Mac are together, the more complex it's going to get. So as his career progresses, you're going to see him start to do more of that, and they're going to work more of that into their game plan. I don't think it's because they don't trust his ability. I just think that this is part of their process and how they like to groom a quarterback. And they're just taking it slow with him is what I think.
Okay. I actually met Mac Jones' parents.
Oh, how are they?
They were good.
Cool.
It was totally coincidental. They were on a flight down to Raleigh the day after the NFL round 1 of the draft.
Oh,
and
cool.
My dad and I just so happened to be on the same flight because we were going down to Raleigh to see the Columbus Blue Jackets play the Carolina Hurricanes.
Oh, sweet.
Of course, I was rooting for the Jackets.
We won't go there for now.
Right. You know I'm a follower of the Penguins, though. You know that.
Yeah, we've had that discussion before.
Hey,
on
I
there.
didn't say fan. I did not say fan. I said
You
follower.
could be a fan. You could be a fan. We want you to be a fan. I want you to be a fan.
All right. I would love to see a Penguins game where they're playing like Boston or something. But anyway, getting back on track. We've talked about the Cavs and their 4-game winning streak earlier, and how they're going for 5 tonight. And then we just talked about the Browns and how they're playing the Patriots. You know that it's Cleveland against Boston all weekend long, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. The Cavs and the Browns are both playing New England teams. So yeah. It's a Cleveland-Boston rivalry week. So
you think Cleveland-Boston is a rivalry?
To us, I think it is. I know as a Browns, Cavs, Indians fan growing up, my least favorite teams are always Boston teams. They just always give us fits. And so I think, like, in that aspect, like from our perspective, yeah, I don't necessarily think that Boston considers Cleveland to be a rival, but I definitely think in Cleveland we consider Boston to be rivals. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm not saying that the Cleveland-Boston rivalry is at the same level as New York against Boston or LA against Boston or Cleveland against Pittsburgh or Cleveland-Cincinnati. I'm not trying to say that, but I think they do have a bit of a rivalry because Cavs-Celtics playoff series always seem to be exciting, whether it was Eastern Conference Finals 2018, 2008, that 7-game series that culminated with an epic duel between Paul Pierce and LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
in the past 20 years, there's been a lot of matchups between the two teams that were crucial, playoff matchups. And the Indians, have played against the Red Sox in postseasons in the past 20 years. And, famously Boston overcame a 3-1 deficit to beat us in that playoff series. And what was it, 07?
07, yep, in the ALCS.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaker. So, yeah, we have some very bad, bitter memories with Boston teams. So, yeah, right. I agree with you. It's not Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and it's not Boston, New York. But, yeah, Cleveland, Boston, there's something there. There's something to that. There's definitely a little bit of a rivalry there. If nothing, there's definitely something there.
And I know Columbus is Columbus. They're not Cleveland. But I have animosity towards the Bruins because, the Blue Jackets made it to the second round for the first time in franchise history in 2019. And it looked like we were about to do it. And then Boston said, yeah, no, go play in the children's yard.
The loser's bracket.
Yeah. So just for the sake of this discussion, I would include the because Cleveland doesn't have an NHL team, and the Monsters for some reason don't play the Bruins affiliate. So just for the sake of this, I'm including Blue Jackets and the Bruins.
I gotcha.
Yeah. I wish the Monsters played everyone in the AHL, but that's a different discussion for a different day.
Mm-hmm.
But the final thing I want to talk about is there was a hell of a UFC pay-per-view on Saturday.
We had an awesome card.
The whole way. The main card was fantastic. The prelims were great. I didn't really get to watch the early prelims, but I don't even know what my favorite fight of the night was. There were so many.
I didn't tune in until the main card, so I didn't see any of those undercard fights. But I did see the 5 main fights, and that was just incredible. So I heard that the rest of the card had some really good fights as well. But just because Michigan was playing a late game, so I was watching the end of that game and didn't get a chance to see a lot of the earlier fights. But yeah, the main card was awesome. Those rematches between Usman and Covington, and then Zhang and Rose were electric. Gaethje Chandler was everything we thought it would be. So yeah, it was an awesome card. I'm glad that I got to see the main event for sure.
Yeah. I was surprised that Usman and Covington, I don't want to say it didn't live up to the hype of the first fight, but it felt like both fighters were a little conservative, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that both of them learned from the first fight, and they had things that they were looking out for. And you could tell that the fighters were more apprehensive going into this fight than they were the first one. So, yeah, it had a different feel to it than the first fight. I think I enjoyed the first fight a little bit more than this one. But it was still a good fight. I was
Yeah.
happy with that one. But, yeah, I wouldn't give it fight of the night. But,
No.
yeah, it was a good fight. I think it was a deserved rematch for Covington, and I think that Usman has ended that discussion about who's better between the two.
Yeah. Although I would not be opposed to seeing a trilogy fight.
Yeah, it's hard when you have somebody that wins the first two to give them a trilogy, but we'll see. Yeah, it wouldn't be. It was a great, two great fights, so I wouldn't be disappointed with it. But I think I'd like to see somebody else get a shot before seeing that third fight.
Oh, I agree. I'm not saying I want the trilogy fight right away. I'm just saying down the line, if Usman is still the champion and Covington has done enough, and they said, hey, we're going to do it for a third time, I would not say no.
No, and I think a lot of people would sign up for that for sure. Even the Rose and Zhang fight, I mean, I'd even be okay with a third one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm real happy for Rose. It was awesome to see her defend the title successfully this time around. It was her second attempt at defending a title, and the first time that she's had any success doing that. So it's like she got over the next hump in her career, and I was really happy to see that for her.
Yeah, I was too. What would be fun is if somehow Rose clears out the strawweight division and Valentina is still the flyweight champion. I'd like to see those two go at it for the
that'd be a fun
belt.
That'd be a fun fight. I think that she's going to need to do something. Whether it Rose, I think that she's either going to have to move up or do something. Because I think she's proven that in this division, there's nobody that can really hang with her.
I think Rose needs to clear out the division first.
So you think that she needs to face a couple more of those girls before they bump her up to the next division?
Right.
That's fair. Yeah, I'm a big Rose fan, so I just want to see her in the biggest fights possible every time. So
yeah.
But we do got to get wrapped up here soon, so let's start wrapping up the UFC discussion a little bit, and then we can preview a little bit about so what's the catch. So
so we've got to wrap things up here because we have our radio show, So What's the Catch, in about a half an hour. You can tune into that by going to northcoastunderground.com and then clicking the All Sports Cleveland link, or however it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you can listen to me, you can listen to Brian, you can listen to James, you can listen to Jeremy, who will come in on what we now call Kramer time.
Mm-hmm. And then we got Chirk in the Berserk box.
And then we got the one and only Chirk Berserk, who I think is probably going to be obsessed with Taco Fall again.
And if you know some of our co-hosts that we just mentioned, I think that you'll completely understand why we need a minimum of 25 to 20 minutes to prepare for the show before we go live on air. So yeah, we're actually going to wrap things up, but I hope that all of you who are tuned in now, I hope that you move over to North Coast Underground through All Sports Cleveland and follow us. But yeah, this has been fun, Josh. We'll be doing it again next Wednesday. Every Wednesday we'll be meeting, doing the Sports General show. Sometimes we'll be live in studio together. Other times we'll do it live through StreamYards like this. So we're kind of going by the seat of our pants right now, depending on what's available here at the school for us and what's not. But yeah, we'll be here every Wednesday. So definitely tune in next Wednesday. We'll be shooting for 12:30.
Yep, sounds good. But until next time, I'm Unger to the Max, and I will see you most likely Friday night when I welcome Boston Sports Report to the show to talk Celtics Cavs and Browns Patriots. Until then, I'm signing off to you.
It's been fun. We'll see you over there in a couple minutes.
Sounds good.
All right, bye guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks.